This is the fall final practice review number 1, video 1. We're going to start with number 1. Number 1 says, let g of x be the transformation, translation 3 units down of f of x. So what we first need to recognize is that g of x is the transform function of this. So we're going to begin with this, and we need to turn it into g of x. And what they're asking us to do is to move it 3 units down. Oh, kind of cross that out. In order for us to do that, we need this knowledge right here, that y equals a parentheses x minus h to the n power plus k. I hope you guys remember this stuff. The a is telling you how wide or how narrow your graph is going to be, how vertically stretched or compressed it's going to be. The h value tells you how much you either run this way or this way. And the k value tells you how much you're either going up or down. Okay, so the h and k tell you whether you're moving up or down, left or right. And the a value tells you whether it's stretched or compressed. So in this one, they tell you to move the function f of x 6 units, or not 6 units, 3 units down. So 3 units down, we should remember that it's the k value at the very end that's moving down. So the k value is moving down. So that'd just be subtracting 3 from the minus 6. So if we subtract 3 from minus 6, we'll get the minus 9, and that is answer D. Moving on to number 2, we have a parabola that is opening down. And once again, we need to know this stuff right here, that y equals a parentheses x minus h to the n power plus k. When you have a parabola, obviously that's the power of 2 instead of the power of n, right? So it's a power of 2. If it's opening down, what do we know about the a value? Has to be negative. So the a value has to be negative if it's opening down. What else? The parent graph of a parabola has a vertex at the origin, right? And if we actually went through and showed you the parent graph, which is y equals x squared, and I started plugging in numbers for x and for y, so this has nothing to do with the problem. I just want to give you a little bit more of a background feel to this. So if you plug in 1 for x, right in here, 1 squared will give you 1. Now, if I plug in 2 for x, I'll get 4 because 2 squared is 4. If I plug in 3 for x, I'll get 9. And ladies and gentlemen, this right here is the pattern for when your a value is 1. Okay? Your a value is 1 because the coefficient in front of x squared, there is no coefficient, so that means it's 1. So this is the pattern for the a value of 1. Now, this pattern, you could look at it going up or going down. Let me finish the parent graph just to show you. The coordinate 1, 1 is right here. The coordinate 3, 9 is already off the graph. But if I go to 2, 4, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's right here. And if you map those points over to the other side of the y-axis, because that would be the reflection line, you'd end up with this perfect parabola. That's the parent graph. And again, the parent graph has a pattern 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9, way off the graph. So if we take a look at this one, this vertex is right here. And we all know that this form up here is called vertex form. Why is it called vertex form? Because you could clearly see your vertex, which is h and k. These are all notes that we need to have in our head, right, for the final. All information that we need to know. So the h value, because it's inside parentheses, you have to think opposite of whatever you see. The k value, you take it for what it is. But we don't even have an equation. We need to write an equation. So what is the vertex coordinate here? If you go from the origin, you go out 5, and you go up 3, so that's the coordinate 5, 3. Okay, so 5, 3 is your x and y value for your vertex, which means that 5, 3 is your h and k value. Okay, so if we think about this, we know that the vertex form parabola is y equals, it's a negative a, but I'm going to write my answer down here. The negative a, if it has the same pattern of 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9, we know it's negative 1. And if we go from the vertex and go 1, 1, yeah, it is right there. 2, 4, yes, it is right there. And even 3, 9, it'll be on there. So we know that the a value is actually negative 1, parenthesis, squared, and then plus k. The h value we said is 5, but we need to write it with the minus sign. So it's actually going to be x, then we're going to put a minus 5 in there. And the k value is 3, and that's just, you take it for what it is, you put plus 3 at the very end. So plus 3. And ladies and gentlemen, that is our vertex form equation. Now that's doing it without even looking at the multiple choice. You rearrange everything and move the multiple choice answers to check what the answer we just got right there. And obviously, it's not in vertex form, it's in standard form. Dang. Okay, I just explained this completely wrong to you guys. I apologize. Sorry. And I'm still recording. What would be the quickest way to do this then? You could change this to standard form by doing x minus 5 squared and then distributing a negative 1 and then adding 3. Or another option is to just pick a graph and find the vertex by doing x equals negative b over 2a. So what do you guys prefer to do? Negative b over 2a? I'm going to distribute. Check it out real quick. X minus 5 squared is really x minus 5 times x minus 5. If you distribute correctly, you'll get x squared minus 10x plus 25. But you still have the plus 3 at the end from up here, so that's going to be a plus 28. Actually, no. Let me actually put this in parentheses first. And the reason why I want to put it in parentheses is because it was originally in parentheses, and I'm not supposed to add before multiplying. So I better multiply the negative 1 first by all that junk, and it'll become negative x squared. It'll become plus 10x. It'll become minus 25. And then at the very end, I'm going to put the plus 3 that was there before. And then we'll be able to see which is our correct answer, which is, which one? B? No. D. Definitely not B, because it's supposed to be a minus 22. So it's D. Cool? Let me show you the other way. That was one option of doing this problem with all this work up here, right? Let me delete that work. So the other way of doing this would be to just take a look at the question. It says, which function represents the graph? Well, you could just start graphing each of those functions and see which one actually gives you this. So if I take A, it's in standard form, and I hope you guys remember to find the vertex of a standard form equation. You're going to, a vertex is a coordinate, an x and a y value, and you need to remember that x equals negative b over 2 times a. That's how to find the vertex. That's how to find the vertex x value. And if you did do negative parentheses over 2 times parentheses, you should be able to find your vertex. Now looking at your first one, that would be negative 10. So you'd put a negative 10 inside of the parentheses, and 2 times a, the a value of option A is negative 1. So you'd plug in negative 1. And what would we get? We get a positive 10 divided by a negative 2. Positive 10 divided by a negative 2, that's going to give us a negative 5, and that's the x value of our vertex. Now think about it. From the origin, is the x value of our vertex negative 5 or positive 5? Positive 5. So we know that option A cannot be it because the vertex x value is positive 5, positive 3. You get it? So you could do this x minus, or x equals negative b over 2a for each one of these, And you'll see that the only one that'll give you that vertex that is opening down will be option D. Because this one will also give you the x value of 5, but it won't be opening down because the a value is positive. It should be negative. On to number 3, the parent function f of x equals x squared. That's a regular parabola that has a vertex at 0, 0. It's reflected across the x-axis, vertically stretched by a factor of 8, translated right 4 units to create g. Use a description to write the quadratic function in vertex form. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, you need to know this right here. Y equals a parentheses x minus h to the n power plus k. And again, when it's a quadratic, you're talking about 2 right there instead of n. So let's go with the first instruction. They tell us to reflect it across the x-axis. How do you reflect across the x-axis? Change the sign of a. All right? So let's first begin with the parent graph y equals x squared. And let's change the sign of a. And before I even do that, let me remind you, that parent graph looks like this. It has an origin, vertex, and it's opening up like that. So the first thing they tell us to do is to take this parabola and reflect it on the x-axis, make it open down. And we know that algebraically that means change the sign of a. So that's just putting a negative in front of your x squared. And then it says vertically stretch by a factor of 8. Vertically stretching, you're messing with y. Vertically is up and down. So you're messing with y, which means you're going to multiply the entire function by whatever they tell you to stretch it by. So they want you to stretch it by 8. So you're going to end up with y equals negative 8 x squared. Now we're not going to even do the parentheses yet because we don't know if we're moving left or right yet or up or down yet. So we move on to the next instruction. It says translate right 4 units. Yeah, so we are going to have to move to the right. And moving to the right, if you guys go back to this right here, moving to the right is messing with h. Okay? So let's set up the parentheses that we need to have h. So we're going to have y equals negative 8 parentheses. I'm going to put the square on the outside. And in here, I'm going to put x minus h. Now the thing is, they want us to move right 4 units. Now, when we move right 4 units, because of the minus sign, it's not going to be positive 4. In here, it's going to be a negative 4. Does that make sense? So that's going to be a minus 4 in there. And what about the k value? Do they tell us to move up or down? No, so that's it. We're done. That's your answer, which is answer A. Moving on to question 4, find the zeros. I hope you guys remember that finding the zeros is the same thing as finding the answers, same thing as finding the x-intercepts, finding the solutions, finding the roots. All of those words mean the same thing. So they want you to find the answers. They want you to solve it. They want you to find the x-intercepts. How do you find the x-intercepts? You set y equal to 0. That h of x, you're going to set it equal to 0 and you're going to solve. So there's many ways of solving this. You could use the quadratic formula, x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Or you could factor, split, and solve if possible. So I'm going to try to factor, split, and solve. What times what is negative 60 that if I combine together gives me a positive 11? So that will be 15 and negative 4. So we are able to factor by putting an x right here and an x right here. We know it's equal to 0 because we're solving. And again, what times what is negative 60 that combines to give you a positive 10? 11. That's a positive 15 times a negative 4. We have factored. Let's split and solve. That's going to be a x plus 15 equals 0. X minus 4 equals 0. So your two answers are going to be x equals negative 15 and x equals positive 4. Those are two answers. Negative 15, positive 4. That's answer D.